Many Americans find themselves at an unprecedented moment. We feel isolated, our world is marked by divisions, and we're not sure how to engage neighbors across differences.
We know our communities thrive when they are places of belonging for all. It's time to rebuild the we, a bigger sense of we than what we see around us today.
That's why we created Reimagining Us. I'm Nicole Argo, the founder and executive director at the Together Up Institute.
And I'm Scott Hutchison, the executive director of E Pluribus Unum. On Reimagining Us, we'll be talking to behavioral scientists, change makers, and educators to understand why we're divided, to hear true stories of people bridging divides and finding common ground.
Reimagining Us is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Learn more at nextchapterpodcast.com/reimaginingus and togetherup.org/reimaginingus.
From the studios of the Optimism Institute, welcome to the Blue Sky Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Burke, and in every Blue Sky episode, we'll be speaking to leaders, researchers, and thinkers whose stories and insights will remind us that there is always blue sky above. Sometimes you just have to get your head above the clouds to see it. Several past episodes of Blue Sky have touched on the benefits of time spent in nature and how the outdoors can provide a welcome and healthy break from the busyness and distractions of our daily lives. Our guest today is making it his mission to help more people become comfortable and feel welcome in the outdoors, both for their own benefit, but also to help ensure the very future of this country's sizable outdoor industry. Earl B. Hunter Jr. is the founder and president of Black Folks Camp 2, a marketing-driven business whose mission is to increase diversity in the outdoor industry by making it easier, more interesting, and more fun for folks to go camping. Earl is an experienced business leader across multiple industries. He founded Black Folks Camp 2, a for-profit company, following his most recent position as vice president of sales at Sylvan Sport. While at Sylvan Sport, he grew the business from $1 million in sales to $17.5 million in just 4 years. Earl has been widely recognized for his ebullient personality, great work ethic, and non-traditional approach to building relationships and closing deals. And you'll soon hear evidence of all of these traits from this remarkable and optimistic man. I hope you enjoy this Blue Sky conversation with Earl Hunter Jr. as much as I did. Earl B. Hunter Jr., welcome to the Blue Sky Podcast.
Right on. Thank you so much for inviting and welcoming me to be here. I'm excited and look forward to having this conversation with you, my friend.
So we're going to talk a lot about getting more Black folks, as you say, into the outdoors.
Right on.
Your experience with the outdoors, though, didn't start the way it does for a lot of people, maybe a lot of white people. Right. You didn't go when you were a kid. It wasn't one of these family traditions. You actually got into it more professionally. Can you describe how you learned about this part of the world and this part of life?
Yeah, so I didn't really learn about the outdoors until I was 40 years old, and I'm 48 right now. And it was actually, I learned about it probably maybe 39 or so. It was a little bit difficult because I knew nothing about the outdoors at all. I always tell folks I was a good times kid. I lived in the hood in Columbia, South Carolina, and we were surrounded around some woods and surrounded around those particular spaces, but I never even gone to those spaces. I may have gone to a state park once. I remember being taken out by maybe the 4-H club once, and they only took me out into the outdoors just to clean the outdoors up. And now that I look back on it, it probably was the most horrible way to introduce somebody to the outdoors is to take them in the outdoors with a picker and a plastic bag to have them pick up trash behind the folks who actually enjoyed the outdoors. And so my journey to the outdoors came by way of the outdoor industry. I build businesses for a living. My job is very strategic. I was in sales. I was driving the business, and I came to Western North Carolina to help a company grow. And that company actually built RVs, and they built campers, and they built outdoor gear. And my job was to show them how to go make money and drive the business. And just so happened, in order to do that, I had to learn the products. And once I started to learn the products and what the products do, get out and go camping and things of that nature, I became an avid camper after that because it was part of my job. And once it became part of my job, Bill, it became a part of my life. It became a part of my life. It actually took my life into another totally different direction, which I'm really proud of, to be frank with you.
And so, Earl, if I have it right, the big event for you, or a big life-changing event, in addition to as an offshoot, I guess, of this work, was this epic trip you did with your son, Dylan.
Yeah.
I have it for 3 months, 49 campgrounds, 20 states and provinces, and you saw precisely one other Black family camping. Can you talk about that trip and what impact that had on you and your life?
Yeah. So first of all, I can't talk about that trip until I talk about the fact that I was one of the only Black executives in the RV industry, right? And because I was one of the only Black executives on the 104, I think it was $114 billion industry at the time, it was kind of weird that I would actually go to all these shows and all these RV shows and all the industry shows, and I'll be the only Black executive kind of walking around about 10, 20,000 people. It was kind of weird at first. And that really spawned my mind of how to really change that, right? How to change that space. Well, my son, which is 7 years old at the time, he kind of called me to the carpet. He said, "Hey, look, Dad, you say you're going to take me to Mount Rushmore. You've been telling me that for the last 2 to 3 years. And because I've been driving the business so hard, working for the company that I work for, I didn't have the time. I wasn't focusing on him and taking him around the country. And then we end up, he said it to me in January. And in June, we packed up the camper. It was a small pop-up camper. We put it on the back of the truck. We loaded all our things up, and off me and my 7-year-old son go to explore the outdoors. Wow. It was an incredible trip, and it changed our life. It bonded my son and I. We have memories forever. But what it really did, is my son and I, we listened to Michael Jackson Off the Wall album the entire time. That's all we did, right? And because of that, our bond became close. We saw everything. We went to a lot of national parks, Grand Canyon. We went to Mount Rushmore. We went to Canada. Went to all these places. However, we only saw one Black family camping in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that is what brought the process and the thought process for me to start our company, Black Folks Camp Too, right?
Wow. And so what is it? Why does this matter? What is it about the outdoors that you find so important, so fulfilling? How did it, any road trip with your son would have been special, but probably the outdoors bring out something different. What is it about the outdoors that gives you that outlook?
The outdoors brings peace to a lot of folks, right? The outdoors, the campfire is amazing. I'm a campfire guy now. As a matter of fact, the campfire is in the center of our logo because it's the oldest form of heat, light, gathering, and cooking. And it doesn't matter what your race, age, gender, ability is. Your lineage came from the campfire. And I think the outdoors is a place that's going to actually bring our country together in a way that it has never been brought together. And I say that because once every age, race, gender, and ability starts to recognize that the outdoors is a place for peace and tranquility, they'll begin to use it in that particular space to release some of the stress from their minds, from their thoughts and things of that nature. And we all have to do that. And we all want to do it. And I believe that place is going to be very unifying. And so for me personally, though, I've been able to lay my burdens down in the outdoors. I've been able to go and do things that I never thought I would do. Go hug a tree. I never thought I would hug a tree, and the tree would give me so much pleasure. Mainly because the tree offers so much. And what it offers more than anything is stability. And a lot of folks in our lives, and when we're in our everyday life, we don't understand that the outdoors gives us this amazing, not only just peace, not only just tranquility, but it gives you a place where you can lay it all down, right? You can lay it down. You can reach your hands to the sky. You can see the wildlife, but it brings you joy. And I want to make sure that joy is in me, but in my children, and perhaps in your children too. As a matter of fact, in the world's children. Because I think that we as adults, we should be, in parents, we should be introducing our children to the outdoors so they can actually grow up in it and love on it and utilize it for whatever they need to.
Beautiful. From this first section alone, you can see why Earl has been so successful in his work. His current passion for getting more Black people in the outdoors came from an intense and very personal experience, a camping trip with his then 7-year-old son. They had a great time together, with Michael Jackson's Off the Wall as their soundtrack. As a reminder, that one was pre-Thriller and included Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Rock With You, and She's Out of My Life. Damned indecision and cursed pride, I kept my love for her locked deep inside, and it cuts like a knife. But I digress. With that memorable album playing in the background, Earl and his son covered an incredible amount of territory, and seeing only one other Black family that entire time opened Earl's eyes to the opportunities being missed by the outdoor industry. And growing his appreciation for time in nature helped Earl expand his vision to include the notion that the outdoors not only brings a person peace, but time around the proverbial and even literal campfire can also create unity and bring us all together. Now, back to our conversation. Like a lot of things, I can speak to this country, the roots of this absence of Blacks in the outdoors goes way back.
It does.
And I've heard you talk about it. Can you enlighten us, especially people with my background who don't have a true sense of some of the barriers? Because a lot of the outdoors, it's quite accessible. A lot of it's not particularly expensive. It's not, but there are some deep-rooted issues that have prevented Black people or have kept them from being in the outdoors in the past. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Black Folks Camp too, we're not a club. We're not a group. Our company and what we've been able to do is generate a lot of data. We're a very data-driven company, and when this company was started, before we can go out and help anyone and talk about these particular issues, we needed to make sure that we had our ducks in a row. We needed to make sure that we knew what we were talking about, that we weren't dealing in opinions. And so, as a company, we took out thousands of folks in the outdoors. We took out the Huxtables and the Good Times folks, right? We took the folks who were very well off economically and folks who were not. We took out single parents. We took out families. We took folks in the military, took folks who were that didn't even think they would ever go in the outdoors. We took them out in the outdoors so we can experience and understand why they were not going in the outdoors. What was keeping them from going in the outdoors? Because I knew what kept me from going. I'm a kid that grew up in the South, right? I knew what kept me from going in the outdoors. And the number one thing that I tell folks that we had to do as a company, I wanted to make sure that what was going on in my mind, what was going on in my friends' minds, the folks that looked like me, the things they were telling me, that was actually something that across the board that was fitting, and it was. And one of the things, the big three things that we found out that we already knew that kept a lot of Black folks, the majority of Black folks, from going into the outdoors and experiencing the outdoor lifestyle is generational fear. Well, my great-grandmother told my grandmother, told my mother, told me, don't go in the woods. You don't belong in the woods, and white folks don't get you in the woods. And so for years and years and years and years, Black parents and grandparents and grandmothers and grandfathers and uncles have been telling their children, their nephews, their cousins, don't go in those woods. Which it brings to the next point is that what's so profoundly scary about all that is that you have millions and millions and hundreds of millions of folks that look like Earl, which is a Black male, have not experienced the outdoors, don't even know the outdoors really exist, don't know why it's important to be there, don't know the benefits of it. And that is a problem, right? The second reason is that we don't have a lot of knowledge. If you haven't been in the outdoors, you don't know the outdoors very well. For instance, we took folks out. No one knew what a trailhead was. No one knew what it meant to when they saw a bear. What should they do? No one knew to hang a bear bag. They didn't know what these things were. Many folks didn't know anything about merino wool socks or hiking shoes and hiking poles and all those things. Had no knowledge really of the outdoors or RVs or how to purchase RVs. We found that the majority of these folks had no clue of what this meant. And I always tell folks, you see black folks, in the Summer Olympics, man. We're gonna win every race in the Summer Olympics, man. We're gonna do very, very well in the Summer Olympics. But you
Yeah.
rarely see us in the Winter Olympics, right?
Right.
Because the Winter Olympics, most of those activities happen in the woods, right?
Yeah.
And so, you think about, kayaking and canoeing. Folks are wondering why they don't see us in the water as much, particularly paddling, because almost 60% of us can't swim, right?
Right.
And so you think
Right.
about that in correlation to the woods and how that actually affects folks in regards to going and exploring. But the third reason is probably the most important reason why our company was started and who we are is because the outdoor industry, have never done a really good job of inviting and welcoming different race of folks, particularly black folks. Now, there are a lot
Yeah.
of listeners out there are probably saying to themselves, listen, I am a different race other than black. And I have the same reasons, Earl, that I don't go in the outdoors. So
Yeah.
why are black folks singled out in regards to what they think and things of that nature? Because what I'm about to tell you is, Bill, is that if you take black folks and put black folks on the side of the room, you take every other race in America and put them on the other side. Black folks are the only race of folks in America that had laws to keep us out of the outdoors. They had
Right.
laws to prevent us from being in the outdoors. Many state and national parks are segregated to 64, 65. So,
Really.
you think about that. That's my mother's age. That's my
Yeah.
grandmother's age, right? And so, when those barriers and those barriers are in place, and generationally, you're not able to experience these things with your parents, then you're less likely to love them as adult. Because the data says that 86% of children who are introduced to the outdoors by their parents are more likely to love the outdoors as adults. Well, if that's the case, then that's why you see a lot of folks of color, particularly black folks, don't really love the outdoors because their parents never introduced them to the outdoors, because their parents never introduced them to the outdoors, and their parents, and so on and so on. And this is
Yep.
why we have such a disparity of people of color, particularly black folks, not really enjoying the outdoor lifestyle.
Okay, so let's talk about Black Folks Camp 2,
Right.
because you've referred to it a few times. It's a company. This is not a sort of feel-good nonprofit.
Not a kumbaya
This is a
company.
business. You're
We're
a businessman.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you got this idea and what did it turn into? What is Black Folks Camp 2?
So Black Folks Camp 2, first of all, we think we have the most incredible name, logo on the planet, number one. Number two, we consider ourselves one of the most delightful companies in the world. Number three, our company says Black Folks Camp 2. It does not say Black Folks Camp just only with black folks, or Black Folks Camp by themselves, and we ostracize everyone else. Our company was created to educate the outdoor industry on why many folks, particularly black folks, have not been in the outdoors. And then also our company was created to bridge the gap between the consumer, particularly black folks, on why they should really enjoy the outdoors and why it's important for them to be there. You see, this is a very strategic play for us. Being one of the only black executives in the space, I really got tired of being one of the only black executives in the space. So my job in creating Black Folks Camp 2 was to help the industry invite and welcome not only more lifestylers, but also more workforce in this particular space. The industry, we're only doing what the industry said that they want to do. The industry said we want to see more inclusion in the workforce, where our company was created to do that. They say they want to see more inclusion in the lifestyle. Our company is here to do that. However, though, when we say we started the toenail of the elephant, we mean that. We don't go to the consumer first. We operate with the industry first, explaining it to them why these folks who are some of the largest consumers in our country have not consumed any of your product. Why haven't they purchased any of your hiking poles? Why haven't they purchased any of your hiking boots? Why they're not going into outdoor retailers? Why they're not going into RV lots? Why they're not going into RV shows? Why they aren't going into? Why they're not a part of conservancy, land trust? Why they're not doing all these things? Yet these same folks are actually funding the outdoors with their tax dollars, right?
Right.
And so our job is to share that knowledge with the industry so that the industry can do a better job of inviting and welcoming these consumers and these folks to the workforce. We're very strategic. We have created an academy to actually to educate the industry, and it's going really well, Bill. But however, though, we had to we've spent almost 4 years explaining to folks that we're not a nonprofit, that we're not a charity,
Right.
that we don't
Right.
accept donations, that we don't write grants. And because if most folks assume that about us because of the name of our company and because I'm a black male heading up a company that actually is having these conversations about quote unquote black folks in the outdoors. That has been going on for years. There are a lot of groups and clubs that have been doing this work, and they've been doing a pretty good job. Our job, though, is to help the industry understand how to better do their job to invite and welcome folks.
Before we get back to our blue sky conversation, I want to tell you about a new promotional partner we have at the Optimism Institute. It's a terrific podcast series called Money for Couples. Hosted by Ramit Sethi, this show aims to help couples create a shared financial vision with clear steps for saving, spending, and living their best lives together. Each week, Money for Couples brings real, actionable advice with stories from real couples who face the same challenges you might be facing. For example, one episode you might want to check out is called We Save for Retirement but Have No Money to Spend Now. Money for Couples is available wherever you get your podcasts, so check it out and start building what Ramit Sethi calls your rich life today. One of the reasons Earl is so passionate about this work and why he's enjoying success is because he understands on a very personal level the generational fear that many Black Americans have inherited and that keeps them from feeling safe in the outdoors. Earl's own grandmother, for example, told him that bad things happen to Black people in the woods. With this knowledge, Earl's business is educating companies trying to make money with outdoor gear on how best to encourage and welcome this underserved and large market segment. And his approach is an inclusive one. He emphasizes that his company's name is Black Folks Camp 2, with an emphasis on that last word. And within the Black community, Earl is targeting people from across the economic spectrum. And as someone who watched too much TV growing up, I appreciated his reference to the Huxtables and the Good Times people. You might want to Google those if they don't mean anything to you. Getting back to our conversation, I asked Earl to describe the Black Folks Camp 2 business model.
Our business model, we have an outdoor education academy. And we created an academy, an online academy for the outdoor industry to actually go through that academy to understand the why. And then we teach them the what, when, where, and how to do things. Right. We have so what happens is that everyone who comes under our logo, which we call the Unity Blaze, and the Unity Blaze means you're invited and you're welcome. It's the campfire with our logo. And when you see that Unity Blaze, you know you're invited and welcome. Well, we have a program that is very strategic. We have a program where it teaches you about who we are as a company first. Right. Because a lot of folks, when they see that word Black, they assume that we're only talking about Black folks. And that's what we're caring about. But we really, our company, they missed the word two. And two means also and as well. And so what we have built is an online academy to educate the outdoor industry so that they then now, again, can have the tools to go out and invite and welcome these new consumers, these emerging demographics to this particular space. And what we concentrate on with the industry is that, you have to move from this mindset of this kumbaya mindset as if you're doing folks of color a favor. You need to move to the point of you're actually missing 20, 25%, maybe 30% of the population when it comes to business. And if you're not actually getting that population of business, you're going to fail based on the climate. And the climate is the folks who love the outdoors the most right now, pretty much white baby boomers. Well, at the end of the day, we all have a life expectancy, right? And so because of that, baby boomers' life expectancies is a little bit less than other emerging demographics, particularly Gen Z. And so the way we think is we believe that our company is we believe in educating the outdoor industry to understand, look, the your current consumer has done a really good job of driving the business for you. They've loved the industry, they've loved the outdoors, they are a part of the industry. But there's a group of folks out there that you're missing. And you need to get your arms around these folks to share the goodness of the outdoors and how incredible it is, or you're not going to succeed in the fashions that you have in the past.
Okay, so I get it, and it's incredibly motivating. I mean, anything you talk about is pretty motivating. So
Right on.
I can see the pitch, but let me play devil's advocate, or let me pretend I'm a executive in the outdoor industry, which I'm obviously not. You started by talking about some very deep-rooted systemic challenges and reasons why there haven't been more Black people out in the woods.
Right.
How do I, as an outdoor industry executive, how does my company go at something that is so deep-rooted and so historical in nature?
Well, number one, you have to understand the climate, right? And the climate is that these issues have been pushed under the rug so much that folks don't really want to talk about it. And what we tend to do is through our courses, we talk about it in a direct but delightful manner. And we share folks, we don't call folks out, we call them in. And we share with folks that if you don't understand the why, you can never get to the what, when, where, and how. And if you don't know how, particularly if you don't want to get to the what, when, where, and how, particularly how to invite 25, 30% of the population to take part and to the outdoor space and to buy your products, then ultimately you as a business, you're going to fail. Okay?
Yeah.
Because America itself, particularly in America itself, the demographic change is enormous and it's changing every day. And because it's changing every day, the folks who are part of the demographic change of the future of America from a demographic perspective, the data says they don't know really anything about the outdoors. So if you're in the outdoor industry, you're an outdoor executive and you're not tapping into these individuals, then where's your revenue going to come from? Right.
Yep.
And so because and by you learning and understanding the reasoning, the history behind all this, it'll help you with your employees or the ones who are in the background saying, hey, listen, I don't really like all this because you guys are being woke. Well, what they should be telling their employees, no, we're not being woke. We're inviting other demographics to this space so we don't go broke. That's what we need to really share. And by doing that as well, what happens is that when you start to learn and understand why a group of folks have never really been in the industry, in the lifestyle, then you'll understand why the outdoor industry itself is about 99% white. And the industry has said to themselves, they said this, we want to change the way our industry looks when it comes to demographics. We want to change it where it looks when it comes to gender. We want everyone to be represented. Well, if you want everyone to be represented, you need to understand why the folks are not represented in the first place. And then it'll help you go out and drive them into your space. Right.
So do you recommend going right after some of these issues? Like, you talked about your grandmother saying bad things happen in the woods. We don't belong in the woods. Stay out of the woods. Do you go right after that in your marketing messages? How do you take that on?
Absolutely, we do. We do that. We go around from our marketing message to B2B, which is to the industry. Of course, we have that conversation with them and we share them what those reasons are. But when it comes to how we actually go, we educate and encourage our partners, which is the outdoor industry, to speak to the consumer is a little bit different conversation.
Okay.
We have a lot of different things in place. We have a place what we call our unity blaze symbol, right? It's a campfire on our logo, and it means that you're invited and welcome. It doesn't matter your race, your age, gender, or ability. It doesn't matter. We want to see folks around the campfire. What we would like the industry to do is promote unity in the outdoor community and beyond.
Yes.
Right? And if the industry is promoting unity in the outdoor community and beyond, what happens is different race, age, genders of folks will begin to now gravitate to that. And they now will begin to invite and welcome their friends that may or may not look like them into the outdoor industry and outdoor lifestyle, because they may not know why their friend doesn't go in the outdoors that may not look like them.
Yeah.
So really what we're doing is educating within so that they now can share that knowledge and regurgitate it back out to the public to say, listen, we're on a mission to make the outdoors more unified. And the way we do it is understanding the why first, and then actually driving the message into our marketing strategies.
Fascinating. So Earl, you've been at this for several years now. How's it going? Give us a sense on what's this work been like, and now that you've been at it for a while, are you more optimistic? Do you feel more challenged? How's it going?
Listen, I'm always optimistic. I'm always optimistic that a change is going to come. As a matter of fact, I sing the song "A Change Gonna Come" by Sam Cooke before I open up and do keynotes around this country, because I know it's changing. It has to change based on just emerging demographics. One of the positives that I see is there are a lot of businesses out there, a lot of companies out there that know that this has to change, right? Or they're going to fail. They know this. However, though, sometimes change takes some time, and I'm here for it. I understand that. I have a lot of empathy for that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're not in the business of twisting folks' arms. We twist hearts. And so, however, though, there are a group of folks out there. There are entities out there like state parks, and we believe that state parks are the pathway.
Yeah,
they're the pathway to getting more folks into the outdoors, because they have a lot. They have recreation on all different levels: fishing, camping, hiking, kayaking, canoeing, everything you can think of in regards to the outdoors. Many state parks have those particular spaces, and we partner with a lot of state parks. And behind the scenes, we really are educating state parks and their interpreters on how to invite and welcome folks. And so, from that aspect of state parks, right now we have close to 9 state parks that are actually going through our process to understand the why. And so you think about 9 states, and most state parks have an average of 40 state parks. So from that particular space, they're doing incredible.
Yeah,
they understand this. They understand they have to change things based on demographics and the fact that, listen, the folks who recreated 40 years ago won't be recreating the same here in the next 20 years, because many of them won't be here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is we really are honing in on states to let them know, listen, state parks are the biggest, are the best, and is the best pathway. But a lot of folks in the area, particularly in the South, they live 2 and 3 minutes from these state parks, and they've never gone to the state parks. They've never been there because they never have been invited and welcomed.
Yeah.
Folks have never understood why they weren't coming, so they never understood how to welcome them.
Interesting.
Right? And so behind the scenes, again, we're teaching state parks on how to do that so we can build a more unified outdoors.
And I imagine you have a representation issue and employment at the state parks as well.
Absolutely. And we're helping them with that as well. Again, all of our strategies and everything that we do is surrounded around the very things that's going to make the outdoors better. But don't get me wrong. Don't let me sugarcoat this. There's a lot of folks out there that have not caught on to this. A lot of folks still think, why do we have to invite Black people in the outdoors? They should know how to come in the outdoors on their own. It's because they don't understand why we don't go in the first place.
Yeah.
They don't understand that folks, great-grandparents told them and shared with them about the woods being a place for lynchings and all those things. Some of the most horrific things in the world happen to Black folks in the outdoors. And so you think about Black folks as a whole, you think about the fact that, we really haven't enjoyed the outdoors in a way that other folks have, where most white folks would think the outdoors is incredible and it's a great place to go. You should come, and you should come to the trailhead. That'd be great. Come up in the mountains. Most Black folks look at it like, no, I'm not coming there at all, because of the fact of the fear, the lack of knowledge, and the lack of invitation. But this is something that, let me tell you, Bill, this is something that I believe can be cured, though. This is something I believe can be amazingly done in a way that we all be proud of.
Earl Hunter's company demonstrates that you don't have to be a nonprofit to make a positive difference as an organization. And he emphasizes the profit motive in so much of what he says here. For example, he suggests to outdoor industry executives, don't feel like you're doing this to do Black people a favor. Do it to grow your business. Or perhaps more memorably and timely, he says, we're not being woke, we just don't want to go broke. And Earl says he's always optimistic, and likes to sing Sam Cooke's classic, A Change Is Gonna Come, when he does presentations. Getting back to our conversation, I wanted to talk some more about state parks and the advantages they can provide in Earl's work. Well, the parks, that's a really interesting angle too, because when you talked before about your original work in the outdoor industry, selling RVs and stuff like that, that's a big purchase. You don't go from, I don't go to the outdoors to buying an RV. You gotta take steps into it. It seems to me that the parks, like you mentioned, they're geographically accessible. You got people living within miles of them. They're also, usually there's some payment you have to make, but they're accessible financially. And also, you said, I think before, you're already paying for them through your taxes. So it seems to me that's one that can go both ways. Educate the parks, but then also the people you're hoping will come to the parks realize, hey guys, you're already paying for this. This place is right down the road. So do you do much sort of to consumer marketing or?
Absolutely.
Okay. To explain that to us.
Absolutely. So our first 4 years of our company, our company has been around since 2019. By the way, Bill, let me just also say this to your audience. We are an award-winning company. We've won several awards as a company, and our work, to be frank with you, with our work, we believe we're going to win a Nobel Peace Prize, number one, for our work. And we have that on our website that's to be announced, to be frank with you.
I like it.
And so yes, so we have conversation with the consumer, but we don't invite and welcome the consumers to the outdoor spaces until the outdoor spaces understand why they don't come in the first place.
Yeah.
And we do that because we want to make sure that when we start to invite folks and welcome folks into these spaces, that they will come back, and it will come back over and over again. They will repeat people who want to come back. What we found is that a lot of folks in the outdoor industry, when you don't know why folks haven't come into the outdoors, you don't know to have different conversations with them. Not necessarily to treat them differently or treat them any better than you treat anybody else, but because these folks have really never been in the outdoors, you may want to just ask the same questions of everyone.
Yeah.
Do you know how to start a fire? Have you camped before? And when you start asking those questions of everyone, you may start getting some answers of, no, I've never done this before. And then now those particular entities will be able to share and to share the ways in which to do so. And so we are starting here in 2025 where we're having a big consumer push, right? But we have to reassure the consumers that the places in which we actually invite and welcome them are ready to accept and then welcome them.
Sure.
Because based on the history, it says it does not.
Right.
So we want to make sure that the folks that we represent, particularly our clients, particularly the folks who actually want to learn more, want to make sure they invite and welcome folks, we want to make sure they truly actually want to do it.
Yeah.
Because we have a reputation as well.
Sure.
We need to make sure that these folks actually feel this way.
Yeah. If you're asking for a big behavioral change, that first experience better be a good one. It could be one strike and you're out.
This is a shift in the paradigm.
Yeah.
And it's good for everyone. It's good for everyone. It's good for the industry. It's good for the workforce. It's good for the consumer. It's good for everyone, because once we get more folks enjoying the outdoors and enjoying state parks and enjoying the RV industry and enjoying the outdoor retailers, once we get more folks in the workforce and we start driving this fast, what we're going to find is, again, we're going to find we got more same than differences. And that piece right there gives me hope for my children, perhaps for your children too.
I love that. And let's talk about children. I read a terrific book many years ago called The Last Child in the Woods, and the author, whose name always escapes me, I'll get it in the inserts. He coined a phrase called nature deficit disorder. This is and he wrote this book way before social media was a thing and all that. So I'm a huge believer in getting kids outside. Let's talk about kids in that you're trying to break some generational patterns. So one way to do that might be, let's skip to the younger kids and try to change them. Is there much, do you do any work, and is there much work being done in places like, I'm thinking of like the Boy Scouts, groups that have been bringing kids into the outdoors for generations, probably wildly predominantly white kids. Is there any movement there? And is that a place where you're putting any of your attention?
I don't put my attention there at all, to be frank with you.
Yeah.
We don't put our attention there at all, because there's some data that points that many of the things that the groups and clubs that are doing in regards to taking kids in the outdoors, it simply doesn't work. You know, most children, particularly black children, were taken in the outdoors one time and never taken again.
Yeah.
Right. Even if they loved it, they went out one time with a group in a club and they never went out again. I was that kid. I know, and all my friends were.
Yeah.
And all the people that I know, who've gone to the outdoors, they went out one time when they were a child.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And the reason why they went out one time as a child, because the group that took them out had the right intentions. They're very sincere. They're very meaningful, but it wasn't a measured approach.
Right.
Because if it was a measured approach, they would then understood the fact that in order to sustain children to go in the outdoors, you have to make sure that parents go in the outdoors.
Yeah.
Because the last I checked, children don't have cars. They don't have any money. They don't know. They can't drive themselves. And if you take if any group, any size, no matter who they are, take a child in the outdoors and they take them out one time and they had a great time.
Yeah.
And they go back home, particularly a child of color, particularly a black kid, and they go home and they say, Mom, Dad, would you take me back out camping? Because I want to go camping. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. And the reason why is because they don't have any idea. Their parents don't have any ideas about the outdoors. So the remedy to all this is for parents to go in the outdoors or take their children in the outdoors, for parents to learn this. And I think the Boy Scouts of America, I really don't know their motto, so I don't want to speak on it. But I believe when they first started, parents are all involved.
Yeah. Right.
I think parents are all involved.
Sure.
Dads were involved.
Yep.
Moms were involved. And now I think a lot of it has come down to, drop your kid off. Let me take your kid in the outdoors and yada, yada, yada. And I just don't like that model.
Yep.
I think the model should be, we should be spending more of our time, 80% of our time, companies and organizations should be spending 80% of their time getting parents to take their own children in the outdoors and what that feels like. And because what we found is a lot of groups and clubs make a lot of excuses for parents,
Sure.
I always tell folks, I was raised by a single mother. And no one ever came to my house, ever, or no one ever came to my school and said, listen, ma'am, Miss Hunter, we would like you to join us with your children to go in the outdoors. We had plenty of permission slips for folks to take us in the outdoors. And many times my mom said, no, I'm not letting you take my child in the woods, right? And because of that, I didn't experience the outdoors that much more. However, though, had they used the tactic of going to my mom and perhaps making it and sharing with her, listen, there's a state park 2 miles down the road, and we would like to meet you there to teach you and share with you how incredible the outdoors is. And perhaps you bring your children back. And by the way, Miss Hunter, it's really, really, really inexpensive for your kids to come to these parks and run around and get tired so they can go to sleep at night. My mom probably would have said, let's sign me up. Yeah,
exactly.
So again, fundamentally, we have to have a shift in our country when it comes to how we get folks in the outdoors. And a lot of folks may or may not agree with that, but I always stick to the data. I'm a data guy. You show me the data and show me the data in which and how the programs that have been done for the last 30, 40 years have catapulted more inclusion in the outdoors. I probably would change my model up and do it. But because I know the data does not point to that, I believe we're going in the right direction by inviting parents to take their children in the outdoors.
So speaking of data, there's a chance that there's a small percentage of people listening to this who actually work in the outdoor industry. I don't know what it might be. I'm sure there's some, but I would guess the vast majority listening do not. I get this. I get how someone who's in the industry could start working with you. What can other people do to support what you're doing if they don't work in the industry? What ideas do you have for them that could help you and your work and just in this cause in general?
You know what? I always tell folks that, first of all, the first thing that folks outside of the industry or inside of the industry, the first thing you should remove from your mindset is that you're helping Black folks camp too. Remove that, or you're helping us as a cause. Remove that from your mindset. Stop thinking that you're helping us and you're helping Black folks. Stop thinking that and start thinking that you're helping the outdoor industry, you're helping the outdoor lifestyle, you're helping yourself. Because we all need the outdoors. But also, one of the greatest things that we said is that as a company, we want to create more unity in the outdoor community and beyond. And that beyond word is huge because there are countless of folks that look like you, Bill, who've come to me and said, I've tried to get my friend who's Black to go in the outdoors with me, but they will not go with me, and I don't know why. Well, now you know why. Because they have generational fear, lack of knowledge, and lack of invitation. But they're going to tell you they're scared of the bugs, right?
Yeah.
However, that they may be scared of bugs, but bugs are not keeping them from going to the outdoors, because if that was the case, we would never go to cookouts, because the same
Plenty of
bugs
bugs
at
there.
the cookout are the same bugs in the forest. And so if you're listening and you're hearing the sound of my voice as a person who's not in the industry or in the industry, we have a program. We have not necessarily a program, but we have something we call TUBW, which is the Unity Blaze Way. The Unity Blaze Way. And the Unity Blaze Way is this, where everyone can get involved. Go find someone. Introduce yourself to someone that may or may not look like you, but particularly that doesn't look like you in race. Befriend that person. Befriend that person. Befriend that person to the point where they trust you. And then you introduce and invite and welcome them to the outdoors. Folks, listen, this is not rocket science. And I know it's not rocket science because that's how I was introduced to the outdoors.
Yeah, right.
By somebody that didn't look like me.
Right.
And all my friends who I know that love the outdoors are introduced to the outdoors by folks that didn't look like them. And most of those folks were white, right?
Yeah.
However, I think that a lot of folks, they want to really kind of kick the can down the road and think that, it's my job because I'm a black male to go, or my job because I'm a black person to go take black folks in the outdoors. And guess what? We do that. And we want black folks to take black folks in the outdoors. But we don't think that is the remedy or the best way or the way that's going to get more of us in the outdoors most. We believe that the best way to get folks in the outdoors or more folks in the outdoors is the folks who love the outdoors the most, which are 96% white folks, to actually invite and welcome folks that may not look like them. And that's how we create more unity in the outdoor community and beyond. Because what you're going to find out is when you start having conversations with folks that may or may not look like you, you're going to find that y'all got some of the same problems.
Yeah.
You're probably dealing with some of the same things.
Yep.
Right? You just, and the other thing is, though, is that when we start to jump in this boat and row together, we'll get there faster. We'll get there faster. And we'll learn much about each other. Listen, this is the greatest time in America to go find some black friends. Yeah. This is what I tell folks. Find some black friends. I mean, you will have profound conversations. And by the way, find some Hispanic friends, Asian friends, white friends, Native American friends, Indian friends. I don't care who you find. Find some friends that may or may not look like you, and you all go out and enjoy the outdoors together. This is the piece that I love the most, enjoying it together.
You enjoy it together, and I think there's something about the outdoors, whether, especially in today's society, ditching the screens, ditching the technology. You're not in your home environment. You're not in your work environment. You're in a sort of, in some ways, kind of a neutral environment for everybody when you're in the outdoors. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I have two young children. I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. And, we travel. My children are very athletically inclined, and we travel around this country to everything they do. Mm-hmm. And I always talk about the outdoor industry. I tell them all the time, your competition is flag football and 7-on-7 football and soccer and things of that nature, because that's where the time is being spent. Yes. You haven't done a good job of inviting and welcoming these young parents to the outdoors. And so what they've done is found something else to do. Yeah. Right. Right. And here's the other thing about that is young folks, many of them have really never really been in the outdoors or been on hiking. They've never really seen a mountain. They've never seen waterfalls. They've never gone into an RV campground. They've never gone to a campground because if they did, they go to some of these traditional campgrounds, they'll see they have swimming pools and they have activities and they have food, they have coffee shops, they have all these things, and they're located on the beach. And you then will attract these consumers to want to bring their children. Right. And if they want to bring their children, that means they'll learn and grow into the outdoor space. This is not rocket science to us.
As I was saying earlier, Black Folks Camp 2 can make money while doing a lot of good. And I truly believe it is a great thing for any kid of any background to spend more time in nature. And the author of The Last Child in the Woods, whose name I always forget, is Richard Louv, L-O-U-V. And again, Earl's been very thoughtful and strategic here about his approach. When I asked if they target kids directly, he explains that this is a dead end, since kids can't drive and don't have the money to do these trips without parental support. He also counsels people to think more deeply about why some don't go into the woods. People who might say they don't want to go into the woods, for example, because they're scared of bugs, might be the very same ones who attend cookouts, he says, and they have the same bugs. And you gotta love Earl's enthusiasm when he says that his company's Nobel Peace Prize is yet to be announced. Now, to our final Blue Sky segment with Earl Hunter Jr. So Earl, you have incredible enthusiasm, optimism, energy. You've been at this 4 or 5 years now. Paint me a picture. If you and I were sitting down, the Blue Sky audience is obviously massive in 5 years, and you've got a big audience to talk to. What does Black Folks Camp 2 look like? Paint me a picture of where you see this going in the next, say, 5 years.
Well, first of all, as of in 2 weeks, we're going to be launching a short documentary about our company.
Oh, great.
And it's going to tell a story about our company a lot of folks haven't seen.
Great.
Haven't talked about. December the 15th, we're launching that. We're going to have a live screening of it. It's a short film about who we are. Because, again, when you look at our name of our company, most folks don't know who we are. They assume who we are. But in the next 5 years, what I see Black Folks Camp 2 doing is influencing the industry, that we have to start thinking about this from a data-driven process. We have to start thinking about it not so much kumbaya, but ROI. And ROI to most folks means return on investment. For us, it means return on inclusion. There's a huge return on inclusion in a particular space when you're talking about emerging demographics, Bill. The Gen Z right now, they are the folks that really are the ones who we really want to be having these conversations with. They're 12-year-olds to 28, right? And those college students right in the middle right there, those are the folks that we believe are going to change the outdoor space in a positive way. And we're really working with higher education and in the outdoor industry, particularly with colleges, helping them understand the incredible opportunity they have to really jump into this space and drive this. But at the same time, though, we're about to launch something that's incredible that I think is going to take us about 3 to 4 years for folks to really understand what it is, and it's called the Great Transfer. And the Great Transfer is having these conversations with the folks who love the outdoors the most, which are baby boomers, and sharing with them, listen, it is time for you to transfer the love that you've had in the outdoors, the love that you have in the care that you have for the outdoors, all the things that you loved about the outdoors. It's time for you to transfer that love to Gen Z. Gen Z needs to know that love. They need to know not only the love, they need to know how to take care of the outdoors. Yeah. They need to know how important the outdoors is, not only to them, but because if you don't do this, all the things that you work for baby boomers and all the things that you love about the outdoors, it's going to all go to waste. So you may as well start transferring that love to other folks so they can love it. And here's the thing. We have a really long way to go, because baby boomers don't understand Gen Zs, and Gen Zs really don't understand baby boomers.
Nope.
However, though, I believe that the outdoors can bring them closer, though.
Yep.
Because one doesn't know anything about the other, which is the Gen Z, and the boomers, they know a lot about the outdoors. And if they really want to have a beautiful connection before they leave this earth, one of the greatest things to do is transfer the love of the outdoors to folks that have no clue how incredible the outdoors is. And that has all to do with every race,
sure,
every gender, every ability, and every age. And again, we would create more unity in the outdoor community and beyond.
Well, that's a great note to end things on, Earl. You are a remarkable person and incredibly inspiring. I think the work you're doing is very important, and I'm really glad you took the time out of your busy schedule to spend it with me and our audience, and I can't wait to get your message out more broadly. And keep up the great work, and thanks so much for your time.
Right on. Well, I'll be remiss if I didn't mention this. I live here in Western North Carolina. As many folks know, Western North Carolina, we were hit with an incredible storm that has displaced thousands of folks from their homes. We just recently were able to get drinking water about 3 weeks ago after about 2 months. A lot of folks have a lot of grief here in Western North Carolina, and we want folks not only to pray for us here in Western North Carolina, but really, the greatest thing you can do is don't forget about Western North Carolina. Make sure when you're on your docket of places to go, you come here and spend your money, because we sure would like that economic stimulation here in our city and our towns and things of that nature.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Earl. It's a beautiful part of the world where I've been lucky to spend some time in the outdoors. And I echo
Absolutely.
what you just said. And we have a tendency to move on from news stories. And you have not been able to move on in that part of the country. So thank you for mentioning that. And we'll pass that word on.
And for all your listeners out there, Bill, first of all, I appreciate you for allowing me to be on this on the podcast. And you're right, the podcast is going to grow. You're going to have millions of listeners here soon. Hopefully, we're the start to get to that million. But I want to leave you with this, and I want to leave this with all your listeners. Many of you folks don't know me, and you probably have never seen me before. You probably never heard me before. But this is the one thing I need you to understand, is that if you hadn't heard anything on the sound of my voice that made sense, if you didn't like it, if you did like it, if you didn't understand it, this is the one thing I hope for you and I hope for your family. Folks, I hope you have the most amazing day of your life today, and I hope tomorrow is better for everyone, including you, my friend.
Thank you. Right back at you. Take care.
Right on.
Thanks. Throughout this conversation, Earl made a great case for there being an ROI, return on inclusion, with the work he's doing. And he also paints an inspiring picture when he describes the great transfer of interest in the outdoors from baby boomers down through to Gen Zers. I was also glad that Earl brought up Western North Carolina, as this reminded me that when we were first scheduled to record, we had to postpone at the last minute as he was preparing for the arrival of Hurricane Helene. And in these days of short attention span news cycles, it's important for us to remember that while news coverage might have stopped in places that have been struck by natural disasters, that doesn't mean that the hardships and struggles have also ended. Thank you, Earl, for that. And thanks also for your vision of 1 million listeners to Blue Sky. Talk about optimistic. I hope you enjoyed this Blue Sky conversation with Earl Hunter Jr. of Black Folks Camp 2. Before you go, please consider leaving us a rating or review. These help us bring attention to the show, and your feedback gives us ideas for how we might make our presentations better. This and all episodes of Blue Sky were made possible by the skilled editing and mixing of the great crew at Sound On Studios. To learn more about them, check out soundonstudios.com. And Crush Graphics is responsible for all graphics and cover art for Blue Sky and the Optimism Institute. That's Crush with a K, and you can find them at crushgraphics.com. Until next time, I'm the founder of the Optimism Institute and host of Blue Sky, Bill Burke, and I thank you for listening.